Hi there, welcome to QA Box Let's Test. And this video we are going to see different pop-ups that we encounter while working on the UI of the application. And it is important for us to understand all of these different pop-ups because the way we interact with them is different. I have created this page so that you don't have to go anywhere and all these different pop-ups. So broadly I can say, alert, confirm, prompt, model dialog and window. These are the different pop-ups that you encounter, and I've created a page which contains all these different categories. Right? So these first two boxes are going to launch the alert. But then the first one is going to launch just one. You can see that this is the alert. The second one is going to launch three alert boxes. The difference is that the text of these alert boxes are different. And on the alert box, you could see that we have just text and a button. Okay. Next one is the confirm. So in confirm, you also have a text, and then you have got this OK and cancel button, right? We can style these alert, confirm, and prompt boxes, all right? And they may look different in different browsers. So we have this OK and cancel button. If you click OK, you get you pressed OK. If you click cancel, you get you pressed cancel. But the next one is raise prompt. So in here you also have a message, and then you have got this box where you can enter some values. So if we say QA box and hit enter, so you get hello QA box, how are you today? So the next one in the list is model dialog from hidden fields. That there are certain fields which are hidden, and when you click on this button, those fields would be popped up. So how is this being implemented? Let's inspect the page and check that out. So we have this div ID which is currently being hidden. In here you have this form, and inside that you have this table and then these two different rows which contain the username label and the input field, right? So you expand that and you see the same in here. And I'm going to click on this particular button. So it is going to invoke this method, which is nothing. I mean, on this event, this is the event listener. So let's go to raise custom model dialog box method. I've used jQuery and jQuery UI, and I've just converted that particular div into a dialog box. And I'm going to click on this. So a new div is being added. So whatever thing that are you seeing in here is actually popped out from here and being added to this document. So the other one is model dialog from function. So here's that button, and it is invoking this custom alert. So let us open that. So in here you could see that we are constructing the dialog on the fly. All right. Having said that, it will still be attached to the document object. So let's see that in action. So let us reload this page. So you see that a new div is being added, right? So new DOM is being added when you click on these two different categories. The last one is window pop-up, and if you click on this, a new window. So this is basically a window which contains all these different tabs. Okay, and I want to do something on this window. Then how I'm going to do that? So let's understand these four different methods on the global window object. Accepts an argument which is the message. You hit enter, you get this alert which contains this text. That's your alert. Confirm also accepts a message, but herein you see that I'm storing the outcome of this method into a variable C1. Okay, let's see what we'll get. So we have this text in here, and then we get OK and cancel. Now the thing is, why I'm storing the outcome of confirm into C1, because this method returns something. If you click on OK, it is going to return true. If you're going to click on cancel, it is going to return you false. Let's see that. So if I now say C1, it returns you true. If I run this again, and now this time click on cancel, and if we access C1 now, it is going to return us false. This method does not return anything, but confirm does. Now both of these methods, as I said, are available on the global window object. So you can say window.alert, window.confirm, or you can say this.alert, this.confirm, or you can just simply write these methods. The last one in the list is prompt, and for that too, I'm going to use let p1 is equal to this, and it accepts two arguments. The first one is the message, and the second one is the default value in the text box. So let's hit enter, and here when I just say QA box, I hit enter, and now let's see what do we have in the p1, because this method also returns something. So we have this value. So whatever we write in there, we get that value stored in here. So this method returns the value. Okay. So the last one in the list is this window.open. And again, we are going to create a variable and save the outcome of that, because this is also going to return us something. It is going to return the reference of the new window that it is going to launch. So the first argument is the URL, and then you have got different features. So all these are optional. So let me just hit enter, and so this dialog is being launched. I can close this, right, without clicking on this. So there's a command for that. So I can say my window, right, and dot close, and then it is going to close it. Okay, great. So I hope we understand all these different pop-ups from the development perspective. Now it's time to start writing test cases on each of these, and the approach would be slightly different, because what we have to understand is whenever we write this cy.visit, now we have got access to the document object. So anything that is attached to this document object for us, it is easy. We just have to move forward. But what about the things that are attached to the window and not accessible or available to the document object? So we have to move to the window object from the document object, and therefore in other tools you have this switch to alert or switch to frame, and those commands, and that's the reason behind that. So these alert, prompt, confirm, and window.open, they are available at the window object. So the approach would be slightly different in here. So let us execute the first test case and see what will happen. Come here, the test has started. Okay, now you see there's a difference in here. You see the alert text, but that alert is not here. And what is the reason? So Cypress by default accept alert, confirm, and prompt. Don't have to do anything. But still, the thing is, at times we want to verify the text of the alert box. In some cases, in confirm you have got two buttons, right? OK and cancel. So Cypress always click on the OK button. There might be a need to click on the cancel button. And for the prompt also, right? So you have to enter something into that field. How are you going to do all that, right? But before we start writing the code, let's see one more interesting thing. So I click on this here, and the number is incremented, and when I hover over that, I see this event occurred 2 times. That's the thing. So these alert, confirm, prompt, and the window as well, they are being handled as the events. So Cypress basically emits a series of events as it runs in the browser. These events are useful to control the behavior of application under test. Both the global Cypress and CY objects are standard node event operators. So basically we would use on method, which is basically a function that is used to register listeners on various events that Cypress exposes. But let's first understand the difference when you use this on method with Cypress, and the other case is when you use it with cy object. So Cypress is a global object that persists for the entirety of all your tests. Any event that you bind to Cypress will apply to all tests and will not be unbound unless you manually unbind it. The cy object is bound to each individual test. That's a major difference, right? So events bound to cy will automatically be removed when the test ends. You don't have to worry about cleanup, and your event listeners will only be called for the duration of the single test. Let's write the code to verify the alert text. The way you have to do is, because we are working at the individual test case level, so I'm going to say cy.on. Okay, that's the function that we have to use. And now this function basically accepts two things. So we have this action, and we have got this function. So this action is nothing. This is basically the event. Now what is the event? The event is window, right? And then you have got this column alert, right? So you get this. So now you have got access to this. And the second is basically the callback function, which is nothing but the event listener. So this is very much like your event emitter on Node.js. So let's also see that in here you have this event name and the event listener. So event name is the name of the event. So for us it is window colon and alert, and then the listener is nothing, it's a callback function. So whenever this event fires, this is the listener that would get executed. This window dot alert yields the alert text. This is fired basically when the app calls the global window alert method. Cypress will auto accept alerts. We cannot change the behavior. Like I said, yields what? Alert text. And we are going to use the fat arrow syntax. And now the code is pretty simple, straightforward. We use expect to be equal. And we are going to say this. And the value has to be, let us copy it from here itself. So now the thing is, before you click on this button, you want to write this, because what you're saying is, hey, anytime in future, right, if this kind of event is being triggered, this is the event listener. So you have to define this before you actually triggers that event. Okay, so therefore it is being written prior to this. All right, so now let's save that and come in here. Okay, so now you could see that we are able to assert on the alert text. So let's do the other test case, which is now we have got multiple alerts. We know that we can create the cy.on in here, and we can write this function, but this is slightly different. So we have to basically stub. We have to create a stub in here. So stub is a way to modify a function and delegate control over its behavior to you. Unlike most Cypress command, basically cy.stub is asynchronous and returns a value instead of a promise like chainable object. So we have to first create a stub, and let us create that. So because it's synchronous, so we can save that, and we're going to say cy.stub. So this is how you're going to create a stub. That's step number one. And then what do you have to do? Now you have to create this method cy.this, and the second parameter is nothing, it is a function. So instead of now writing the function, that the stub that we have created is, we are going to pass that, and then we are going to click on this button, and when this happens, then we are going to invoke the then function, and in here we are going to write our assertions. Let us write the fact arrow syntax in here. So basically this stub is coming from the Sinan library, and if you want to know more about it, in the JavaScript framework uh, series, I've already used this library for this very purpose only, so that herein I just simply use that. So go and check that out. If you open this page also, this one, in here you would see that here's the link. You click on that, and that particular playlist would be open for you, right? So go and check that out. So we have this stub now, and there are a lot of methods available on this. Expect, and we say when this stub, this function basically, so we have stubbed it, now we have got access to it, and we say when it is being called for the first time. So we have this method get call, and we can pass in the index in here. Index starts with 0. So it, as you could see, that returns the nth call. So when you say 0, so it is going to be the first call. Okay, and we are saying that whenever this method window.alert is being, this event is being called, means that the method on the window object is being called. So you know that we have to pass in the argument. So we are testing that. So we are saying to be called with exactly, and in here you will pass in that value, and which is this. So in here we have got this first alert box, and then we have got second and third. So this way we can check all the things. So let's understand this once again. So what are we doing? We are first creating a stub, right? And we are using that stub as the event listener, right? So anytime this thing is being fired by the application, it is going to be stubbed. And then we are saying that the first time if we are calling it using this fn.get call 0 index, we are checking that it is to be called with this value, right? And in here you could see that we are passing in this value, right? second time it is going to be second alert text, and third time it is going to be third alert text. So let us copy paste this line two more times and make the respective changes. So we have to change the text and we have to change the index. Let us run this and check. Yeah, so we could see that there are three alerts and all are being stubbed, and the assertion has worked as well. So the next one is confirm, and the logic is pretty much the same. So you have to use cy.on. This is the event, and this event also yields the text that we have used in the confirm box. So we are going to test it like this. But the thing that is different in here, so by default is like I mentioned that it accepts the thing, so which means that it returns true. So if I just change this true to false, okay, it is going to click on the cancel button. So let me save this and execute it. So you could see that we have checked this and it has clicked on this confirm, right? And you could also see it here. So you pressed cancel. If I change it to true or not write it, so let me just comment this out and save it. So you see you pressed OK. Okay, that's the only difference. Now, do we have another way possible? Of course, and that's what we are going to cover. So let us see the second way of it. So we have to use again that const stub is equal to cy.stub. We are going to say stub dot on first call. Okay, we are saying that return. Okay, so we saw return true and false, right? So if the function returns true in here, means we have to click on the OK. If it returns false, we have to click on the cancel button. So let's start with true, and then we have to stop this window thing, just like we did it here. So let us just copy that and use it in here. Okay, that's the only difference, because herein either want to click on the OK or the cancel, so you have to use it like this. And instead of fn we have this stub in here, so let us write stub. And then when we click on this, we have to use it something like this. So we have to say dot then, and let's pass in the callback function, and we say, so this will ensure that you are clicking on the OK and cancel, and herein you are checking that the text, that's it. And what do we have in here? We have this I'm a confirm box. We have to make one more change before we run that. We have to say window and this confirm, because it is of confirm type. So let us run this and check out the result. So yeah, this has worked. So the next one is prompt. See, the thing is, unfortunately, Cypress has not implemented cy.on window colon prompt, so we have to take a different route for this. And we know that it is available on the window object. So let's first identify the window object, and we know that how we are going to do that. So we are going to say cy.window, and then we are going to say then, and the cy.window will yield what? A window object. So let's pass this window object as the argument to the callback function that we have to write in here. So we have now got access to this, and now let us create our stub, but this time we are going to use a different flavor of the cy.stub. So herein, if I say cy.stub, there are different flavors available. There are basically four. The fourth one is deprecated. So the first one, we don't need that. We have already used that. The second one is you have to pass in the object, right? And see, window is the object, right? So yeah, but I want to stub the prompt method available on that. So I need to work on this. So we have this object and a method which I can stub. And the last one is basically this. We have object, method, and function, but this is kind of deprecated. So we have to use this third one. Okay, so what do we have to do in here? We have to say, okay, the object is window, and the method that I want to stub on this object is prompt. Okay, this one. So now we have stubbed this. And what does this window prompt method returns? It returns the value. So whatever value that you want to set in the prompt one, right? So you're going to say stub dot returns. And what does this do? So you could see that make the stub return the provided value, right? So we are going to provide, let's say, away in here. So this is what kind of we are entering into the prompt box. Okay, and now all we have to do is, this is the thing that we have to cut from here. Okay, and let us paste in here, and let us execute this and see whether we see hello Avi, how are you today? You see hello Avi, how are you today? Right, so we are able to enter in the value. So this is how you're going to enter value into the prompt. Next one is pretty simple and straightforward. That's why you see that I've already added the code, because I mentioned that in this particular case, right, when you click on this, there's already a div tag which is hidden, but when you click on this, that's kind of pop out. But when you look into the DOM, right, a new div is being added, so it's added and you can simply access that using the properties. So you click on that, right, you can identify that name field, you can type into it, you can identify the password field, you can type into it, then you have access to the submit button. Just simply click on that, right? It's pretty simple, straightforward. So that's why let's simply run that and see whether that happens or not. Yeah, that was really quick, right? And you could see that model dialog from hidden field. You submitted username and password. Let us execute this again. Yeah, you see, it entered the value here. All right. So next one is again the same, right? These days, these are the pop-ups that we interact with. So basically, they are already present into the DOM. You just have to find, when they appear into the DOM. Okay. So let's execute the next one now. So herein, we can click on the OK and cancel button. Depending upon what we click, we can see a different message in the last section. So let me just execute this one now. So I'm going to save this, execute this, and in here you see you close the pop-up by clicking close button. If I use the other line, let us see what will happen. Yeah, so it got opened, and by clicking the OK button, so we see a different text. All right, so the last one is the window pop-up. So this is basically the URL of my channel. So I've saved that into a variable because the window that will get launched will contain this URL. So let us see how are we going to do that. It's a window. We have to work on the cy.window command, which is going to yield us the window. Okay, and we're going to use then, and it requires the callback. Let's pass in the argument, which is window, to that callback, and we got to do now a few things in here. So we are going to stub the window object and open, because again we do not have any direct event which is window colon open. So we have to do something like this in here, but instead of prompt, it has to be the open. Okay, so you say open. All right, that's step number one. So now you have stubbed this. Now what do you want to do? So let us make use of a command from Cypress, that is AS, which is for making aliases. So we say dot AS, and we have to pass in the alias name in here. So basically this command assigns an alias for later use. So when you work with then and should, the thing is that whatever object that is being yielded from the previous commands, you have to work with them then and there itself. But if you want to work with those items at some later point of time, you have to go for alias. Okay, and let us give it the name window open. Okay, like this. So now what are we going to do? We are going to click on this button, and this is going to then trigger this kind of event, and we have stubbed that. So now let us access that event. So how are we going to access that? So we are going to say cy.get. This is how we access the aliases, and we have to just use this, right, at the rate symbol, and we have to provide in the name of the alias. Okay, so then we are going to say dot should, and we have to say, see, we there are certain arguments that we have to provide to the window.open. Of course, all of them are optional, but in our case, we have provided this URL. So we are going to say should be called with what, this pop URL. So let us run this and see whether this is being working at this point or not. But before we do that, let us use the only, so that only this test case gets executed. Let us save that. Okay, so we could see that we are able to assert on this. We are still on the same page. Now let's say you want to perform some operation on that, and let's open the website. So when I click on this, what I want to do is I want to enter something in here, right? So let me again use this cy.window thing. And one more thing, so this is the first URL that we have launched, and this is the second URL now, right? Of the new window that would get opened, and they are from two different domains. So Cypress will have an issue with that. So let's see that. So what we are going to do is we are going to use this window object, and we are going to use the location property of it, and then we are going to say href. So this is how you are going to work with these new windows into Cypress, and you're going to set it to this variable. By doing so, what you're doing is you're loading this new page in the current page itself. Okay, and then it's simple. So you have to now identify that element. Okay, and let us inspect this. So you have this input ID is equal to search. That's good enough for us. Let's close everything, and we are going to say cy.get, and it's going to be input of type search, right? And we're simply going to type something into it, and let us type Cypress by QA box. Let's test. And let's learn one more thing in here. So I want to hit enter. I want to type Cypress by QA box. Let's test and hit enter. So this is how you are going to do that. Okay. So let me now run this and see what will happen. All right. So this is the error that I was talking about, because there are two different domains. So for Chrome, you can fix it by just copying this thing, and you have to now open cypress.json file, which is at the project level. So let us open that, come in here, and we have to say Chrome web security, and by default it is set to true. Let us set it to false, and this is only going to work for Chrome. Now you could see that it is going to be reloaded because we have changed the project level configuration. Let's wait for it to be complete. And we see that it has launched YouTube in the same frame. And let's see if it is going to enter. Yeah, it has entered Cypress by QA test and pressed enter, and you see my page. So okay, so we have covered quite a lot in this video. We have covered all the different pop-ups, but for these window alerts, I mean, now we have learned another concept into Cypress, that is of events. So these are being treated as the events, and you have to use the cy.on. You can also use this Cypress.on like I mentioned, but then that would be applied globally. And there is another place where you can write that. So let us open that first into uh, Cypress documentation, and let us understand this. So we have this catalog of events. So I'm just looking for this. Yeah. So uncaught exceptions, right? So these are being raised by your application, and Cypress is pretty strict. If your application is raising any of these uncaught exceptions, it is going to fail that test case. But if you want to just continue running your test cases even after this exception, right? Because manually when you launch that application, the exception is there, but you can still work with that application. So how are you going to replicate the same into automation? So all you have to do is you could again say that Cypress.on, then it would be applied globally throughout your project, and this is the event uncaught exception, right? And when this happens, all you want to do is return false, and this ensures that your test case is not failing. Okay, so you just grab this from here, control C. So inside support folder you've got this index.js, and just paste it in here. All right, this is what you have to do. I hope you like the video and the content of it. Thank you so much.